nation's finest college football players, picked by the nation's leading coaches, make up the two platoons of the 1966 All-America football team. This is the 77th All-America team, a tradition originated by Yale coach Walter Camp in 1889. Our 1966 All-America story opens on the campus of Michigan State. The coaches rated George Webster, Spartan Roverback, the most versatile performer in the All-America defensive backfield. Rangy and rugged, 6'4", 204 pounds, Webster belts ball carriers with the crashing authority of a linebacker. Webster, from Anderson, South Carolina, also is an outstanding pass defender. Here, he reacts quickly on a short completion, tackles the ball, and forces a fumble. As a Roverback, Webster makes tackles from sideline to sideline, just as he did a year ago when he made the 1965 All-America team. Tom Byer, number 27, captain of the Miami University Hurricanes, earned All-America honors with his tremendous tackling as a cornerback. Southern coaches described Byer as almost impossible to block out of the play. A durable 200-pounder from Fremont, Ohio, Byer was the bulwark of Miami's powerful defensive platoon, which triggered 3 major upsets scored by the Hurricanes over Georgia, Southern California, and Florida. Our camera goes where the action is, and here Byer supplies his own kind of action. Miami coach Charlie Tate reports the opposition seldom risked throwing a pass into Byer territory, and here's why. Alert to seize every opportunity, Byer is a lad who will break up the interference, then recover to set up a touchdown for Miami. The coach is also named number 89, Nate Shaw of Southern California, at cornerback in the All-America secondary. Shaw, 6'1" and 205, is a senior from San Diego, pursuing to the far sideline, overtaking the ball carrier. Our field camera catches Shaw using his quickness to move across the line of scrimmage, and when Shaw makes contact, the runner goes down, and goes down hard. Martine Bircher, the coach's All-America defensive safety nominee, grew up in Fort Smith, only a few miles away from the Arkansas campus. But Bircher really began traveling as a punt return specialist for the Razorbacks. Here he takes off for 69 yards against Southern Methodist, sparkling Arkansas to a 22-0 victory over the Mustangs. Bircher, 6'1" and 180, flashes his open field speed here against Texas. Returning this punt 49 yards and demonstrating again why he ranks among the nation's leading punt return specialists, averaging almost 20 yards per attempt. Paul Neumoff of Tennessee was an overwhelming choice for an All-America linebacker post. The coaches rate Neumoff, 6'1" and 209 pounds, the hardest tackler in the Southeastern Conference. Here, in super slow motion, the camera gives a revealing insight into Neumoff's flair for locating the ball carrier. Neumoff, from Columbus, Ohio, throws himself into action on the goal line and stops another touchdown drive. Captain Jim Lynch of Notre Dame occupies the other linebacker post in the coach's 1966 All-America defensive platoon. With Lynch calling signals, the Irish shut out 6 of their 10 opponents and allowed only 38 points all season long. Lynch, here in the circle, is a rugged 6'1", 230 pounds, a crashing tackler who meets ball carriers head on. Lynch's speed as a linebacker also includes his ability to cover receivers and stop drives with alert interceptions. Bubba Smith, massive Michigan State defensive end, is the biggest man on the All-America squad at 6'7" and 283 pounds. Bubba's from Beaumont, Texas, and also earned All-America rating as a junior last year. Coach Duffy Daugherty often shifts Smith into the middle of the Spartan line with devastating results, devastating to the opposition, that is. Whether operating from end or middle guard, Smith's objective is to get to the ball in a hurry. Any questions? Tom Greenlee of Washington pulls down the other end of the All-America defensive line. Smaller than Bubba Smith at 5'11" and 205 pounds, Greenlee makes maximum use of his speed and agility, here tripping the runner and forcing a fumble. Greenlee from Seattle sometimes lines up behind the tackle. Here, he moves up to fight off blockers in the mud, then keeps his feet and upends the ball carrier. Now time out for a visit with Coach Frank Broyles of Arkansas, chairman of the All-America Selections Board. Broyles is analyzing game action footage on one of his own players, All-America defensive tackle Lloyd Phillips. These all-important game movie studies, developed with the aid and technical assistance of the Eastman Kodak Company, are the basis for the coach's annual All-America selections. Like coaches everywhere, Broyles spends hundreds of hours every season studying game movies. By stopping or reversing the film action, coaches can pinpoint every move of the players and determine just why plays succeed or fail. Here, number 70, tackle Lloyd Phillips of Arkansas, looks just as tough on film as he does on the playing field. Coach Broyles stops the projector to pinpoint the action where Phillips fights off the block before making the tackle. Only by comparing the game movie evidence on leading players from every section of the country can the coaches select the nation's greatest stars named on our 77th All-America team. Pete Duranko of Notre Dame also occupies a defensive tackle position in the All-America lineup. Duranko, 6'2", 235 pounds, is a senior from Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Duranko played fullback as a sophomore. Now, Pete uses a fullback's speed to crash through enemy blockers. In nominating Duranko for All-America recognition, Coach Ara Parsegian reports Durable Pete topped all Irish linemen in number of tackles over the last 2 seasons. Defensive tackle Wayne Malin of Nebraska also was awarded All-America recognition by the coaches, who elected to place 3 outstanding players at defensive tackle: Phillips of Arkansas, Duranko of Notre Dame, and Malin. Malin, number 66, is one of the main reasons Nebraska led the Big 8 in defense. Here, Malin stops a Colorado thrust as Nebraska beats the Buffaloes 21-19. Only a junior and still growing, the 6', 240-pound Malin from Bay City, Michigan, looks for another great season in '67. Middle guard John Legrone of Southern Methodist is the anchor man in the All-America defensive line. Legrone, a tenacious 222-pounder from Borger, Texas, was the key man in Southern Methodist's drive to the Southwest Conference title and the Cotton Bowl. An explosive bundle of courage, Legrone seldom attacks from the exact same position, but he always knows where and how to stop the ball carrier. Now let's look at the All-America offensive platoon, beginning with split end Jack Clancy of Michigan. Clancy, college football's top pass receiver, is unexcelled at faking and at running intricate pass patterns. Clancy from Detroit is 6'1" and 192 pounds. Amazingly, he returned to football after undergoing a back operation to make catches like that one. Big Ten coaches contend Clancy can catch any ball he touches. Just watch this one as Clancy lowers the boom on Northwestern. It's the winning touchdown as Michigan wins 28-20. The high-flying tight end, Gene Washington of Michigan State, joins his Spartan teammates George Webster and Bubba Smith on the All-America squad. Speed, size, and fantastic catches are Washington's trademarks. At 6'3" and 220 pounds, he's a standout blocker, and his speed is a threat. Yes, a threat even in the mud against Ohio State. Washington's straightaway speed already has earned him a national track title in the 70-yard hurdles, and that same speed opens the way for a long gainer against Notre Dame as the Spartans and the Irish battle to their 10-10 tie. Wayne Mass of Clemson earned All-America rating at tackle with the same kind of blocking which made him the standout lineman in the Atlantic Coast Conference. He's a junior from Sumter, South Carolina, and he flattens anything in his way. At 6'4" and 245 pounds, Mass blocks like a bulldozer, and his coach, Frank Howard, calls Mass Clemson's greatest lineman in the last 35 years. Ron Yary, another massive junior, fills the other All-America tackle position. Yary is 6'6", weighs 265, and Trojan coach John McKay expects him to hit at least 280 next season. Ron Yary, number 77, provides plenty of protection for Southern Cal passers. And because he's quick off the mark, Yary is a strong, straight-ahead blocker as well. Rugged Tom Regner of Notre Dame won All-America recognition as the hardest blocking guard in college football. At 6'1" and 245 pounds, Regner really moves people around. Against previously unbeaten Oklahoma, Tom Regner and company go to work on the Sooners' defensive line. And the Irish power to a 38-0 victory. Regner from Kenosha, Wisconsin, also delivered a smashing performance against the Navy. And the Irish won again, 38-7. Alabama's Cecil Dowdy makes our team as a guard.
Cecil Dowdy is not large. He's certainly small as college tackles go. As a matter of fact, he weighs very little over 200 pounds. He's strong, however. His greatest asset, I would say, is his quickness.
That was Alabama head coach Paul Bear Bryant describing his All-America lineman, Cecil Dowdy. Bryant calls Dowdy one of the finest blockers he's ever coached, and Bear Bryant has coached some mighty fine linemen in his day. Dowdy, a senior from Cherokee, Alabama, is 6'2", 210 pounds, and all blocker. He opens the door that springs the ball carrier loose for long yardage. Rounding out the offensive line is number 59, Jim Breland, the Georgia Tech center. Breland is the kind of center quarterbacks love to see playing in front of them. Coach Bobby Dodd, in his 22nd season as Tech head coach, and his 36th on the Tech coaching staff, believes Jim Breland is definitely the best blocker and the best offensive center to play for Georgia Tech in 36 years. The 6'1", 223-pound senior from Blacksburg, Virginia, is the coach's nominee for All-America Center. The coach's All-America backfield is loaded with speed and power. Fullback Nick Eddy ranks among Notre Dame's all-time greats. The 195-pound senior from Lafayette, California, came up with a big run in almost every game. Our super slow-motion camera shows Nick Eddy at the point where he breaks loose on a kickoff return against Pitt. Nick shakes loose from a tackler at the 30-yard line. Then he goes all the way for a sensational 85-yard touchdown run. Here's another Nick Eddy classic, 52 yards against North Carolina. Irish coach Ara Parseghian says Eddy is the most dangerous open field runner I've ever had. Eddy also is quite a pass receiver. This catch against Pittsburgh was one of his best and clearly illustrates the many talents of versatile Nick Eddy of Notre Dame. The coaches picked Mel Farr of UCLA to share the running halfback position with Syracuse's Floyd Little. The 6'2", 208-pound senior from Beaumont, Texas, is a lean sprinter who runs with real power. When UCLA upset arch rival Southern California, Mel Farr played a key role. Farr, the Bruins' leading ball carrier, runs with his knees high and keeps his body driving forward. Against Syracuse, Mel Farr demonstrates to East Coast fans why he's the best in the West. Hemmed in, Mel reverses direction and takes off around the opposite side to turn this play into a big gainer. This kind of talent made Mel Farr a member of the 1966 All-America backfield. At Syracuse University, they're still asking who was greater, Jim Brown or the late Ernie Davis. Now, many believe it's Floyd Little who ranks as the greatest Syracuse back of all time. The explosive senior is the third orange great to wear number 44. Little is the current holder of practically every major football record kept at Syracuse. The smallest of the Syracuse number 44s at 5'11" and 195 pounds, Floyd's fans claim he's more exciting to watch than either Jim Brown or Ernie Davis. Unlike Brown or Davis, the bandy-legged Little runs around tacklers rather than over them. He's a threat to go all the way every time he carries the ball. And Little's short, powerful legs make him tough to tackle in the open field. We asked Syracuse head coach Ben Schwartzwalder to compare Floyd Little with other outstanding stars.
To be a great football player, you got to have the physical qualification. Now, Floyd has speed, strength, he has endurance, but in addition to this boy is probably the most dedicated football player we've ever had. And he's got great balance and drive. Probably the thing that really sets him aside more than anything else, along with his desire and ability, is this great feel. He has a great ability to change pace, and he does this instinctively.
Ray Perkins of Alabama is our All-America flanker back. He's 6'1" and 188 pounds, a senior from Petal, Mississippi, possessing great speed, terrific hands, and a rare knack for getting into the open. Perkins was picked by the coaches as the most dangerous flanker back in college football. According to Coach Bryant, Perkins is the best football player in the Southeastern Conference. In clutch situations, Bryant even plays Perkins on defense to take advantage of his speed and sure tackling. Whether you favor Bob Griese or Steve Spurrier, you can't go wrong when choosing the All-America quarterback. They've both been selected on the coach's All-America team. Jack Molenkoff tells us why Bob Griese is the greatest quarterback ever to play at Purdue.
Bob Griese has the quickest release that I have ever seen in collegiate football and possibly professional football. In addition to Bob's fast release of the football, he has very fast foot action, away from center and getting set to throw the pass. In fact, most of his passes are thrown in less than 2 3/10 seconds. Generalship, there isn't a finer signal caller any place in the country. Bob has gained over 5,000 yards while at Purdue University, over 4,300 yards by passing alone.
Running, passing, and kicking are 3 good reasons why Bob Griese has been one of the outstanding quarterbacks for the past 3 years and a 2-time All-American. The Florida Gators had a good season in 1966, but for quarterback Steve Spurrier, it was a great one. Spurrier, besides being named an All-America, was elected to receive the Heisman Trophy, awarded to the nation's outstanding college football player. Spurrier is only the 3rd winner from the Deep South in the 32-year history of the Heisman Award. The 6'2", 203-pound senior from Johnson City, Tennessee, was one of the nation's forward passing leaders, as well as ranking high in the total offense department. Like Bob Griese of Purdue, Steve Spurrier is an all-around player. In addition to his aerial artistry, Spurrier is a dangerous runner, a good punter, and a fine place kicker. He's an All-America in every phase of the game. Now let's take a final look at the 1966 All-America team. The defensive back, George Webster of Michigan State. Tom Byer, Miami. Nate Shaw from Southern California. Martine Bircher from Arkansas. The defensive ends, Bubba Smith of Michigan State. Tom Greenlee, Washington. The defensive tackles, Lloyd Phillips, Arkansas. Wayne Malin from Nebraska. Notre Dame's Pete Duranko. The middle guard, John LeGrone from SMU. And the linebackers, Jim Lynch of Notre Dame. And Tennessee's Paul Newmont. Now turning to the offensive platoon. Ends Jack Clancy, Michigan. Gene Washington of Michigan State. Tackles, Ron Yary, Southern California. Wayne Mass of Clemson. Guards, Tom Regner of Notre Dame. Cecil Dowdy, Alabama. Center, Jim Breland, Georgia Tech. Quarterbacks, Steve Spurrier, Florida. Bob Griese, Purdue. Halfbacks, Mel Farr, UCLA. Floyd Little of Syracuse. Flanker, Ray Perkins of Alabama. And fullback, Notre Dame's Nick Eddy.
That's the 1966 All-American lineup. Now speaking for the American Football Coaches Association, let me say thanks to all you football fans for your enthusiastic support of college football. Our thanks also to the Eastman Kodak Company for presenting our 1966 All-American movie.